Welcome to our channel, Centric Math Chat. So for today's goal, we are going to add fractions. So let's get started. Example number 1. Let's find the sum of 2 ninths and 5 ninths. Well, this gives us a sum of 2 and 5, 9 and 9, so is 7/18 the sum of 2 ninths and 5 ninths? Okay, let's revisit our fractions. In this problem, we have 2 ninths and the unit here is ninths. This means we have 2 groups of ninths. We have 5 groups of ninths since we are referring to the same unit. So what we simply need to do is to add our numerators and copy our denominator. Therefore, we're gonna end up with 7 ninths. So, in other words, the sum of 2 ninths and 5 ninths should be 7 ninths, and it shouldn't be 7/18. So remember this. These are examples of what we call like fractions. And when you are adding like fractions, you simply add the numerators and copy your denominator. Let's take a look at another example. We have example number 2. What is the sum of 2/3 and 3/5? This is a little bit different from the first problem because if you notice, their denominators are different. We are referring to thirds here, 2 groups of thirds, and we have in here 3 groups of fifths. These are examples of what we call unlike fractions. Will this give us then a sum of 2 plus 3, 3 plus 5, do we get 5/8? I'll show you the method on how you can come up with the sum of these 2 unlike fractions. So to find the sum of these 2 unlike fractions, what you can do is remember our butterfly method. You can find the product of these 2 numbers, multiply them diagonally, so you're going to end up with 10 plus the product of 3 and 3, which gives us 9, over the product of 3 and 5, which gives us 15. Then you can now add your numerators. We're gonna have 19/15. And since this is an example of what we call improper fraction, we have to reduce this, rename this, and we know that 19/15 is the same thing as 15/15 plus 4/15, and this is the same thing as 1 plus your 4/15 will give us 1 and 4/15. So the sum of 2/3 and 3/5 is 1 and 4/15, and it is not 5/8. So in other words, do not simply add the numerators and the denominators when you're looking for the sum of fractions. Now, let's go back to this method that I showed you. Let's try to understand, why am I multiplying 2 and 5, 3 and 3, and the denominators? What's the concept behind this? So let's take a look at 2/3 and 3/5. We need to make their denominators the same. We need to rename these fractions in a way that they're gonna come up with the same unit, similar to our problem number 1, wherein they have a common denominator. They are like fractions. So, if we take a look at what we've done here, right? We can just go ahead and multiply 2/3 by 1, but again, it's in the form fifths, and multiply 3/5 by 3/3, which is the same thing as 1. Remember, this is 1. This is the same thing as 1. And each time you multiply a number by 1 would still be the same number. So 2 times 5 will give us 10 15ths plus 3 times 3 will give us 9 15ths. 10 plus 9 over the same denominator will then give us 19 15ths, which is equivalent to 1 and 4/15. So if you take a look at this, your 10 plus 9 all over 15 is basically the same thing as 10 15ths plus 9 15ths. 2/3 is also known as 10 15ths. 3/5 is equivalent to 9 15ths. So going back, just multiply them diagonally. Same thing with your denominators here.